You motherfucking tube. It's your boy Rollo Jenkins. Man, oh man, oh man. It's my crazy ass homeboy Zone6. Alright, let me touch on a few spots, man. There obviously was some misinterpretation or misconception of. Now, when I say athleticism, and I believe it was Pull Counter who pointed this out in the comment section of your video. Athleticism is not a style. I never classify athleticism as a style. I classify athleticism as an attribute to an athlete. All athletes aren't that athletic. You know what I'm saying? You have to have some sort of athleticism to be an athlete. To some degree, some level, you have to have some athleticism. But some athletes are more athletic than others, which quantifies them as a athletic guy. For instance, Tom Brady, a good fucking football player. Same thing with Peyton Manning. Hell of a football player, right? All-time great football players, in all honesty. But you wouldn't put either one of those guys at linebacker or runner back. You damn sure wouldn't put neither one of them at wide receiver or cornerback. You just wouldn't. They don't possess the athleticism. They don't possess the running speed and the athletic agility to play those positions. But they can do other things very, 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 very well. And that's why they are very good, even maybe great, however you want to classify them, football players. So, Timothy Bradley, in this Juan Manuel Marquez fight, he possesses a certain amount of athleticism that Juan Manuel Marquez does not possess. And the reason that I bring that up is a lot of Juan Manuel Marquez's opponents didn't possess the type of athleticism that Timothy Bradley has. And the thing is, I bring that up because Juan Manuel Marquez has always had trouble with athletic fighters. That's why he only has one win over Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is a very athletic fighter, and he has trouble with that. The trouble with Manny Pacquiao is he's very limited and one-dimensional with his athleticism. Juan Manuel Marquez is my favorite fighter in boxing. And the reason being is because he's not fast. He's not big. He's not, I wouldn't consider a ridiculous power puncher, but he does possess pretty good power. And somehow, some way, he finds ways to win fights. You know? So, I just, you know, and you're saying that Marquez is on the way up and Bradley's on the way down and he's got better since he fought Mayweather. I don't see that he's gotten better since he fought Mayweather. I don't see that at all. To be honest with you, since he fought Mayweather, let's just name the guys that he's fought since he fought Mayweather. Pacquiao, Juan Diaz, and that's pretty much, you know, like, there's a couple of other guys that you could throw in there. But without looking at BoxRec, you can't name those guys. So, you know, you can go Wikipedia Juan Manuel Marquez and tell me who those other guys were that he fought. But who the fuck were they? We don't know enough about those guys to even make a educated assessment of them. So there's really no need to mention those guys. And what weight class they fought at really doesn't matter either. you know. So we got Floyd Mayweather, Juan Diaz, and shit. That's fucking it. That's it. I think those are the only fights that he had. Manny Pacquiao, Juan Diaz, and a couple of no-name guys since he fought Floyd Mayweather. So let's take those fights in assessment here. The same trouble that he had with Floyd Mayweather in the ring, and I know Timothy Bradley is not Floyd Mayweather, but Timothy Bradley possesses similar attributes. He may not fight in the same style. He may not look the same when he fights as Floyd Mayweather. But Timothy Bradley has great upper body movement. He has good foot speed. He has pretty good hand speed. Those are the things that will give Juan Manuel Marquez problems in the ring. He's not going to stand right in front of Marquez and try and brawl with him. I don't believe. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, just like you could be very wrong. And these are just our opinions. But I don't believe that he'll stand and fight in the same manner that he did with Provodnikov. And in all respect, Provodnikov may turn out to be a much better fighter than we all expect. Prime example. You said Devin Alexander quit against Timothy Bradley. Alright, that's cool. I mean, he was still losing the fight, or however you want to, you know what I'm saying? He was losing the fight. But think about this. Nobody else has seemed to figure out how to beat Devin Alexander. Lucas Matisse couldn't. Randall Bailey couldn't. Amir Khan, not Amir Khan. Marcos Maidana couldn't. So it just goes to show you that some of these guys, you know, that you can label a quitter or X, Y, and Z. Well, nobody's else been able to make Devin Alexander quit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, maybe he did quit in that fight. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Maybe he was frustrated. I don't know. But the point here is Bradley was able to beat a guy that nobody else has been able to beat. And that just what seems to be what Bradley does. You know what I'm saying? He found a way to beat Provodnikov. He found a way to beat Pacquiao. He found a way to beat Devin Alexander. He found a way to beat Lamont Peterson. He found a way to beat Kendall Hope. He found a way to beat Junior Witter. He just finds ways to win fights. He does whatever he has to do in the ring to win a fight. You know? And the sad thing about it is, as much as I love me some Juan Manuel Marquez, he's very limited in what he can do in the ring. He is. He relies on his counter-punching too much. That's why when he fought Floyd Mayweather, it was a complete wipeout. Floyd never gave him the opportunities to counterpunch. So, that's the reason that I believe Juan Manuel Marquez will lose this fight against Timothy Bradley. I could be wrong. Maybe Bradley will get caught. Maybe Marquez will finish. I just don't see it. He's been in there with big punchers before. I just don't see it. So, I want to touch on something that you kind of brought my eyes to. And probably by fucking accident. So I'm watching your video about my boy One Time. And in the video you played rounds 1 and I believe rounds 2 of the Mayweather-Guerrero fight. And in that fight, those first 2 rounds were so close. I didn't think that they were that close at first. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and put together a video similar to Dante Box Nation. And I'll tell you what video in a minute. But I'm going to try and put together a breakdown video of that fight. And point out a few things, some flaws and some holes that I see in Floyd Mayweather's game that I'm going to point out, and why I believe, not what nobody else said, why I believe Keith Thurman is the biggest challenge to Floyd Mayweather right now. Why I believe. When I looked at that fight, Robert Guerrero, he did what I believe was some of the most ridiculous shit that I've ever seen in a boxing match. You're fighting a guy with longer arms than yours, and your idea of getting away out of a punch is to lean back. He's already faster than you. He's quicker than you, and he has better hand speed than you. And he has longer arms than you. And your idea of getting out of the way of a punch is to lean back. Absolutely ridiculous. So I'm gonna point out a hole that I think that can be exploited by Keith Thurman based on a pattern that I've seen Floyd Mayweather do in recent years. And I first picked up on this when Floyd Mayweather fought Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley was the first fight that I kind of picked up on this. And I'm going to try and put together a video and point this out. So be looking out for that. And I have to agree with you, Zone 6. I really do believe that Keith Thurman would beat Floyd Mayweather now. I'm more convinced of it now than after seeing this Canelo fight than I was prior to it. And when I got done watching your video, I rewatched the Guerrero fight, and I was even more convinced. And people probably wondering, how can you see and watch that fight in the way that Floyd dominated that fight and be more convinced? Well, see, this is what I noticed in that fight. Around the 4th round, you can see that Floyd noticed how fucking slow Guerrero was. And not only how slow Guerrero was, how minimal punching power that he really had. I don't think that Floyd really got touched with anything that hurt, or that made him believe that he could be hurt by Guerrero. But he still stayed out of the way pretty well, you know. But Guerrero did some fairly decent counterpunching in that fight for a slow, and as my boy Boxing Beats and Rhymes would say, a plotter. He has very little foot movement, Robert Guerrero does. But it's very similar to Canelo Alvarez. Very similar to Miguel Cotto. Cotto out of the 3 had the best foot speed, ring generalship out of the 3. Canelo had the best hand speed out of the 3. But Cotto also had the highest ring IQ out of the 3. None of the guys possessed the attributes that are necessary to beat Floyd Mayweather. A combination of hand-eye coordination and foot speed and athleticism that it will take to beat Floyd Mayweather. And I believe that Keith Thurman possesses all those things. And I wasn't sure of Keith Thurman until this last Diego Chavez fight. Diego Chavez was putting serious pressure on Keith Thurman. In that fight, I seen Keith Thurman come out and bang with Diego Chavez. And like a lot of power punchers, he couldn't knock him out. But what happened was Keith Thurman, on the fly, adjusted his game plan to make it more of a boxing strategy to get Diego Chavez out of there eventually. I think that Keith Thurman adjusted his game plan to go 10 or 12 rounds, however far the fight was scheduled. But he's still, in the midst of that, punched with enough power to get Diego Chavez out of there, just as he done in most of his fights that I've watched. He has the foot speed and hopefully the IQ to not be a Robert Guerrero or Canelo Alvarez and stand right in front of Floyd Mayweather thinking that at some point you're going to be able to get a punch off quicker than Floyd Mayweather will be able to get a punch off. Now, if you line Keith Thurman up against those the last three guys that Floyd Mayweather just fought, Keith Thurman, I believe, has better hand speed than all of them. I believe that Keith Thurman probably punches harder than all of them. And Keith Thurman definitely moves around the ring better than all three of those guys. I'm not saying that I will bet money on Keith Thurman to beat Floyd Mayweather. But what I would bet is it'll be Floyd Mayweather's toughest fight in his last since motherfucking Emmanuel Augustus, I would say. And let me tell you, and let me give this example why I believe that Keith Thurman will and possibly give Floyd Mayweather his toughest fight if they were ever to step in the ring. Defensively, the only person that we've really seen on par with Floyd Mayweather is Bernard Hopkins. Defensively, they are very similar. And similar in the fact that they don't get hit clean a lot and they reduce their opponent's punch output. And they do that with their legs. Not head movement, not with the shoulder roll. They do it with their legs. They keep themselves out of position for a fighter to even throw punches. That's why their fighters, the opponents that they fight, always have a low output, because they're never in a position for the opponents to even throw punches. And they both throw, their favorite punch is the lead right hand, where they throw it and then they roll under to get out of the way as they're throwing the punch. Both of their favorite punches. Don't believe me? Just go roll some tape. Go roll some tape. So, when Bernard Hopkins was reigning terror on the middleweight division, who was it that finally beat him? Albeit people say it was a controversial win or two controversial wins. But ultimately, who the fuck beat him? It was Jermaine Taylor. A young, athletic fighter. Bernard Hopkins moved up. And he got slapped to death against Joe Calzaghe. And if I'm not mistaken, he went down like in the first or second round also. But Joe Calzaghe is the, I would say, Manny Pacquiao equivalent to the super middleweight division. Very athletic, especially for a white guy. Then we go up the ranks. Antonio Tarver. Not a very athletic fighter. Kind of slick. Not athletic at all. I don't believe. He's a very basic fighter. Very 1-2 fighter. Bernard Hopkins schooled him. Then he goes and fights John Pascal. Um, Athletic guy, very athletic. And he was able to beat Bernard Hopkins in their first fight, or it was a draw, one or the other. But he's a power puncher. He's he's not a slick fighter. He doesn't have the ring savvy. You know what I'm saying? He likes to mix it up. He likes to brawl a little bit. But he still gave Bernard Hopkins lots of problems. Then we get Chad Dawson, who did a number on Bernard Hopkins. He didn't beat Bernard Hopkins up, because Bernard Hopkins is not going to get beat up in a fight. The same way Floyd Mayweather is not going to get beat up in a fight. It's just not going to happen. He's going to use his legs too much to be out of the position to even be hit often. But the thing about that is, when you're in there with an athletic guy who is as athletic as you are, when you put yourself out of position to be punched, you take yourself out of position to do punching, to punch to punch the opponent. Chad Dawson has the athleticism to move with Bernard Hopkins and be set and ready to punch whenever Bernard Hopkins is set and ready to punch. That's why he had trouble with Chad Dawson. Javarius Cloud, different story. He fights in a straight ahead, that boxer puncher type of style, where he's straight ahead and he's only looking to land big shots. Those type of fighters, Bernard Hopkins and Floyd Mayweather eat for breakfast. They eat those type of guys for breakfast. But the type of fighter that will give Floyd Mayweather problems is a Bernard Hopkins. You take Bernard Hopkins' style and put it in a welterweight. If you put that shit in Devin Alexander or Keith Thurman or Adrian Broner, Floyd Mayweather will have all kinds of problems. All kinds of problems. He will. And if Keith Thurman is smart, he'll go to the school of Bernard Hopkins' defense, and Antonio Tarver gift the gab and get his ass a fight with Floyd Mayweather. It's your boy Rollo Jenkins. Holla at your boy.